I'm really excited to be joined by Dr. Harry Cohen. Harry, thank you for joining me today.
My absolute pleasure.
Now, you're an author, but what were you before an author? And I have your book right here.
So I was a shrink for many, many years. I was a shrink and then executive coach and motivational speaker.
And what inspired you to write this book? It's called Be the Sun, Not the Salt. I imagine a lot of life experience.
Totally. So somebody recently asked me or reminded me, they asked me, why'd you write the book? And I remember what I said. And I was reminded that I wanted to leave my kids something when I die. This is the compilation of my entire life's work. I think it'll help a ton of people. When I did my TED Talk, I ended my TED Talk with leave people with an afterglow, not an aftertaste. Be the sun, not the salt. I didn't know that I was going to write that book, but that's my attempt at 31 page. Okay, if I could say something that I think the world could benefit from, certainly my kids, certainly stuff I've learned, this is it. I don't want to write another book. I wrote a book 20 years ago called Secrets of the Obvious, about how to live a healthy life. This is more the distillation of everything.
You know, when I was reading this book, the thing that I really took away from it is that I feel like you put into words what should be basic knowledge for people.
I know. Not only should it be basic knowledge, I think it's basic knowledge already that most people, when you tell them about this, they go, oh, I love that. It doesn't require a lot of explanation. What I get excited about as I think about how to explain this to your listeners or to anyone is I want to say more by saying less. It's so easy and so powerful. Just recently I heard this great line, which I'll now say forever. It's so easy, it's easy to forget. It's easy to not do. And that is the profound nature of this, which is, whoa. If you just do this stuff, your life is going to be better. Guaranteed.
Now, why do you feel like it is easy to forget these things? Why do you feel like in our day-to-day lives that these lessons and a lot in here really focuses on how to be a good person, how to let things go, just live very honestly and genuinely to yourself? But why do you feel like that's so difficult for people?
The reason I can say that it's so difficult because I watch myself, and I'm an expert. I'm a wise sage. I'm a 70-year-old practitioner of equanimity. I've lived my life, and I still lose my cool, find myself not being extra kind. Today's chapter is do it anyway. You know, when you don't feel like doing something, the lesson for today is do it anyway. It's a Mother Teresa quote. It's a poem. Well, I can get lost and I don't feel like it. Why is it so common for us to lose it? It's the ancients. They've been writing about this for thousands of years. To be a good person, we have to fight against all of the forces that are pulling us and tempting us and inviting us to be less than a good person. I don't feel like getting out of bed. I don't feel like smiling. I don't feel like saying please and thank you. I don't feel like doing the next right thing. That's human nature. That's okay. My gift to the world is, yes, you can. Do it anyway. Do the tiniest good deed. I'm talking about smiling at a stranger. I'm talking about costs you nothing, but your life will be better for it. And because the world is built to tempt us to do stupid and unwise things, we have to work a little bit to remind ourselves, don't eat the donut. I mean, seriously, donut. I'm not picking on them for all those people who make a living selling donuts. I'm sorry, but they're not good food for you.
They're not good food for you, but there is something good in your soul that happens when you eat a donut.
See, this is what happens. Look, there's a whole lot of metabolism, stuff that happens when we eat sugar and fat and fried foods. So we can talk about that if you want. But, deep fried Oreos are not good for you. I know they taste good. But I'm using this as a metaphor and literal. Like, why do you want a diet of deep fried Oreos? Well, you can have them now and then, can't you? I guess so.
Yeah,
I'm
that's an excuse.
I keep saying I'm 70. I want to live till whenever, but I want to live great. And if I eat food that's not good for me, eventually it's going to find me. And, it's not that complicated. If I'm a bit of a dick sometimes, if I'm unkind or unconscious or disrespectful or thoughtless, it's not good. So I don't have to beat myself up. I can just be deliberate and conscious and say, have I done any good today? Yes, good. Do some more. And that's what I get excited about. Imagine we could get millions of people to understand this and practice this a tiny bit more. They don't have to change who they are. They don't have to change their personality. They don't have to change anything. They and we have to do just a little bit more of what we already do, and the world is a better place. And a little bit less of what we already do when we're a bit of a dick. I mean, that's
I do like that.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying I'm nobody's perfect, including me. And I just started saying of late to my wife, I don't know, months ago, but I've been doing it every day. Is there anything you need for me to do for you today? Now that's a sentence that I can say every day.
And it's a very helpful sentence, and you don't even realize it.
It's so fantastic. I mean, it's like, how come it took me 70 years to figure that out? Well, at least I figured it out now. I now leave for the airport an hour and a half before my flight. How come it took me years to figure that out? I finally figured it out. I'm talking about basic stuff. Now, I did learn please and thank you as a kid. I got that down. But man, am I discovering more stuff, science-based stuff, to improve your relationships, your productivity, your life, your happiness, your health, your longevity, your equanimity. It's all good. And the whole point of this, what I get so excited, you don't have to take a 12-week course. You don't have to sign up for anything. You don't even have to buy this book.
You just have to choose to be a good person.
Every single day. And if you choose to be a good person, you go, well, what does that mean? Oh, I could tell you, but I bet you could too. Whatever somebody would say when you ask them, well, what do you mean? How do you be a good person? Whatever comes out of their mouth, you go, yeah, do more of that. We copyrighted, do more of that. Just do what you already do a little bit more. Well, what do you mean? Well, when you're a good person, yeah, do that some more. Well, I already do. Great. You think you're limited? You think you do it more, you'll be happier, and people around you will be happier. And do the obnoxious, uncool things a little bit less. Like looking at your phone while someone's talking to you.
Yes, that's a very big thing, especially in the last couple of decades.
Totally.
Now, scientifically, talk me through this.
Yes.
Like when someone chooses to be a good person versus chooses not to, like scientifically, what does that look like in somebody's brain when they can't wrap their head around being a good person?
So this is a great question, which is wrap your head around being a good person. Those are a bunch of words. All you got to do is hold the door and smile at someone. Your actions define who you are. It defines your identity. So this good person thing is only what you do. Just what does a good person do? What do you do as a good person? And then do that some more. What happens in your brain and body is all kinds of good stuff. I mean, you can see it in someone's face. You can see it in your face. You're smiling as I'm talking to you. That is what happens to the body-mind. When you're around someone who makes you feel good, you could measure it in the blood. There's some oxytocin in there. There's some dopamine in there. There's all kinds of other neurotransmitters in the blood of a person with whom you are making feel uplifted. And I mean, literally, if you touch someone's hand and hold their hand, you can measure the impact on them. And the same as when you say a kind word, you could literally, if you hook them up to a functional magnetic resonance machine, you could watch their brain change. But you don't need to do that. Just look at somebody and smile at them and say, can I help you? Oh, that's a lovely dress you have on. I love what you did to the room. Oh, you can say anything as long as you mean it. And authenticity is one of these virtuous qualities that other human beings resonate with. It's like the natural smell of a flower, which is fragrant, creates in people ooh, that's delightful. Yeah. And there's disgusting sense as well. And that creates a different kind of reaction. And that's what we're talking about. Disgust and fear and anger and sadness. Those are naturally occurring emotions. But so is awe and joy and love.
Now, when you're talking about this too, I hear you saying it's to me and to you, right? I feel it's pretty easy to be a good person. It's easy to make a choice. But there are people I've encountered in my life who don't feel that that's an easy choice
Right.
for some reason, whether
Right.
that be past experiences
Right.
and insecurities. For those people, how do you start to get them to walk down this much more fulfilling life of goodness?
I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. In that real core question, everybody's different. I don't like to generalize if I can, because I don't find it helpful. I would find how do you get the person in front of you to make that choice? My answer to that is be that person and influence him or her in such a way that they are moved and motivated and inspired by your example, so they don't even know why they're being more kind, but they're moved and inspired by your life. I think that's the way. I mean, my words, this podcast is an attempt to help somebody who's listening who might be that person, but I don't know if that person is going to be moved to hold the door and smile and be a little bit more kind. I really don't know. Man, if I could figure that out, I think we should tell everybody. But as far as I can tell, it's do it yourself. Be so magnificent that your life and your example is what makes them go, I ran into that guy, and I don't even know what he said, but I wanted to be a better man. Remember that movie with Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt? You make me want to be a better man is that line. I want to be a person who makes other people want to be a better man or better woman. I don't know if my words do it. This book is an attempt to it. Everything I put out on Our Be the Sun, Not the Salt podcast, and everything I write and everything I post on Instagram is an attempt to do what you said, which is to nudge any listener. I'm going to be nicer to my wife. I'm going to be nicer to myself. I'm going to fill in the blank. I'm going to eat a healthy meal today. I'm going to go for a walk with my dog. I mean, there's so many things that if people did more of those wonderful things, they would have a better life. I want to inspire more people to do this. And man, oh man, if you can help me do that, let's get it into the hearts and minds and hands of everybody.
I've started to realize, especially as I've started to have a platform with the job that I have and what I've done, where a lot of my action and words can be seen in so many different ways. But it's been very important to me that I connect with human beings on a very close level, which means messaging with a lot of them. And I'm often sharing every moment of who I am versus just the good. Everybody sees every up and down flow of my life. And it's funny, I've shared sometimes the frustrations of people writing and saying horrible things when they have no idea who I am. Because I can't fathom it. In my brain, I could never be that person to somebody else. It's really hard for me to comprehend and understand. And somebody wrote me, and I will always remember this conversation, and they were like, well, I'm sure you also have thoughts and you say things about people. I said, that's the difference. I have a thought, but it never leaves my brain.
I know. So when I read nasty, critical, obnoxious, horrible, I guess trolling, they call it, social media posts, people who would comment on someone they don't even know, I always think to myself, oh, that poor thing. Oh, they don't know. They don't know any better. No one ever told them. Dude, you don't say that. You can think it. Don't say it. Now, I've done wisdom training and teaching and speaking for years, so I have the benefit of knowing that before words leave your lips, may they pass through 3 gates, may they be truthful, may they be necessary, and may they be kind. And I haven't always followed that recommendation, but it's so damn intelligent. I should. So when I say something obnoxious, inappropriate, cruel, it's like, oh, but for the grace of God go I. I got to do the next right thing. Please know that people who do stupid and foolish and hurtful and harmful things, they know not what they do. No one ever told them. They weren't socialized. They weren't parented. They weren't trained. They weren't mentored. They weren't shown. So they do that stuff because they don't know any better. Our job is to have compassion for them and see if we can help the next person. Not that person. They probably ain't going to get it. But the next person would say, I'm not going to post that. I'm not going to say that. I mean, one of my greatest learnings, be the sun, don't be the salt. Don't be the salt. There's one chapter out of 30s, which is if you can't be the sun, then just don't be the salt. That is as powerful as anything in there. Refraining from saying what you're thinking.
That's a very, very difficult skill, especially today.
Exactly. But to your point, it's a difficult skill. So what? It's difficult to do a lot of things. We do them. A lot of things are difficult.
But it just seems to be one that we kind of put in the back burner. It's not one that we feel necessary.
I understand. That's why we have a job to do. I have a life purpose and mission. So do you. Let's join forces and do more good by helping more people do more good so that it becomes the norm and people help other people in a normative way. That's not cool. Don't do that. Oh, thank you. You're right. I shouldn't. Okay. Little correction. When I hear people not saying please and thank you, I oftentimes will want to say, dude, you should say please or thank you. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, I don't. But 1 out of 10, depending on the person, I will lovingly remind them, please would be nice. Thank you would be nice. Whether it's my grown 33-year-old kids or a dear friend who, I thought I said please. No, you didn't. And I don't mind reminding them, not in a, obnoxious, judgy way, but in a, come on, dude, we can be better than that.
Yeah, I do feel like we've gotten away from this self-awareness of understanding ourselves and how we interact in the world. And some of that comes with just a simple please and thank you. Some of it comes with keeping your face bright in something that somebody wants to see. That the self-awareness aspect feels like what is the biggest thing that we're missing.
I couldn't agree with you more. Well, you said something so profound, and people who can't see this podcast, this is listening only, they can't see your bright face. No, seriously. They can't see what a bright light you are. And you said it with such deliberate intent. I'm so glad that you said so. Your face is not your own. What do you mean? You bring it out into the world. What are you giving the world? Is it that sour puss? Or is it that delighted, what a lovely face? Mm-hmm. We can offer that to the world.
Yeah. And so do you. You have the same face. You're very happy and expressive. I
know, but I know that deliberately. I know it because it's my life, my job. What am I going to walk around with a sour puss for? That would be like walking around with a smelly jacket. It's kind of inappropriate. Dude, you should probably clean that. It looks like a mess. Mm-hmm. Oh, you think it matters? Yeah, it kind of does. I mean, that's the simplest, the way we want to make this so that other people can go, oh, that's good. I listened to that podcast. I got something from that. What'd you get? I'm going to watch my face more. What do you mean? Just going to be aware of how I show up in the world. Good for you. That's great.
Yeah, and I feel like it's because a lot of people wear their life on their face.
Pretty much.
And they're showing everything that's happening to them in a day-to-day world. The very common RBF, if you will.
Yep.
That I do know a lot of people are like that. And it's very often where I'll meet people and I'll say, I wasn't sure if you were going to like me because you did have an RBF. And I never want to be that person. I want somebody to think automatically I'm interested in what they're doing.
I know, because authenticity is very heliotropic. It makes people want to gravitate towards us. When we are real, people like that. People like it when we're authentic. People like it when we're vulnerable. People like it when we're grateful. People like it when we're curious. People like it when we're kind. People like it when we get shit done. You know what I mean? When we follow through on our commitments. These are great qualities. These are wonderful virtues. All virtues. Pick a virtue. What about generosity? Great. I love that we can lean into being more virtuous and everybody wins. Mostly ourselves, but everybody wins around us when we're just a smidgen more thoughtful.
You mentioned that word heliotropic, which is in your book. Can you define that a little bit for me? Because that was a new word for me to learn.
It's a new word for most people, but it's what was so exciting for me because it describes what we are talking about. Why a plant leans towards the sun is because of the heliotropic effect. And it turns out that people are like that too. We are drawn to the positive energy around us. Heliotropic means the positive energy of the sun, and human beings can be positive energizers, and we're drawn to them like the plant to the sun. That's the heliotropic effect. When we are demonstrating our virtuous qualities that your mother and grandmother and father and grandfather and you and your brother and spouse already demonstrate, we are drawn to those people. We like being around them. It is like sun on our leaves. It makes us feel like, whoa, great. That's what the heliotropic effect is. And all we got to do is do that some more. Period. Not be anybody else. Just pay attention. You know, I could do that some more. I could be on time some more. I could be more forgiving. Good. I could be more dependable. Good. I could be more curious. Good. You know, fill in the blank. Everything that you and your mom and your dad taught you about how to be a good person, that's our life's work. Great. So do it some more.
I really love this comparison to plants, how you've found that, because we are living beings that need sunshine. Not even just mentally, but physically, emotionally. It's a whole experience. Our bodies crave the vitamin that comes from the sun.
That's right. We crave the vitamin that comes from the sun, but we crave this good energy from other human beings too. Our whole bodies light up when we're around virtuous people like ourselves. So that's what it's like, oh my God, so I could be a great parent to my living, breathing four-legged or two-legged or plant. You know what I mean? This is how we are great parents and great friends and good company, by giving that good positive energy to our loved ones and perfect strangers.
Very important, because it's often missed. You know, you can be a great person in your life with the people that you know, but if you're out existing in the world and you're also not continuing that, you're not fully really taking in this version of a life.
Correct. And if let's say you're 90%, you're 90 out of 100 exchanges with other human beings, you're fantastic. But 10, you're less than great. Go for 91. So this work isn't about perfection. It's about, you know what? I like trying to be 1% better. What do you mean? 1%. A little bit kind, a little bit more curious, a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more inspiring, a little bit more loving, a little bit more effective. You know, am I being effective in this podcast? I always worried about talking too much, so I'll stop talking.
No, you're doing so great. On that other flip side of being a positive energizer and having the sun on our leaves, what is this salt on the roots? I loved that saying, like putting salt on the roots. Anytime you're not living in that positive energy, you're doing salt on the roots.
And here's what it means. It's not salt of the earth. The salt of the earth is another description of a great quality human being. Salting someone's roots is a metaphor for making somebody feel crappy. Period. You can make somebody feel crappy a million different ways. Look at your cell phone while they're talking to you. Make a sarcastic comment after they say something positive. Make a fake apology. I'm just giving examples of ways that we can be salt on roots. Get irritated for something that someone did and let them know. I mean, I'm going on, but there's so many tiny, and the reason I bring up tiny, because just as being the sun is tiny, being the salt can be tiny. You can just cop a little bit of an attitude with people. I travel a lot, so I'm in a customer service, receiving customer services a lot. I'm on airplanes or in Ubers or at hotel rooms or whatever. And I can cop an attitude. You shouldn't make me wait in line. You shouldn't make me go through this. But whatever my attitude is, that's garbage. I can make somebody uplifted in a split second, or I can be a bit of a dick. This morning, in the TSA line at the Detroit airport, there was a huge line on Monday morning, and there were 2 Delta agents directing people. One was particularly helpful, and the other was not. And I made a choice of pouring on extra scoop of love to the helpful one. Hey, dude, you were really helpful. Thank you. I really appreciate the way you handled me. Now, I was deliberate in making him feel good. I could have just said one nasty, snarky, sarcastic thing to the other woman, and I didn't. I don't want to meddle. I'm just saying that I think that stuff, but I'm better than that.
Well, just like you said, we're not perfect. You still have the thoughts. It's that it never leaves your brain. It's there, it exists, and you recognize it, but it never comes out.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And well, that's no fun. Yeah, I know. That's okay. I like being a better human being. That's my life's mission. There are people who are listening to this going, this is too nice. Sometimes you got to rip people a new one. Yeah, I'm not that interested in that. I don't mind holding people accountable. I'm talking about making somebody feel crappy is not necessary. Yeah. And that's really important, because we often do and don't even realize that we do. We get lost in stupid stuff.
I was on a plane, and it was really funny. The flight attendants came over, and they always make some funny jokes, but one of them said, every time I really hope that everybody says hello and has a greeting for us. And every time I'm very disappointed, because I can never say that it has happened yet where every single person has walked on and said hello and smiled at us. And I just thought, what a perspective that is. Totally. And I always do, not because of anything, that's just genuinely how I was raised. I was taught to interact with people and be aware of the world around me. And I am also well aware that that's not how everybody was raised. But it was such a perspective shift just for me sitting there. And I was like, wow, really? There was people here that just walk on with no regard that there's other humans in front of them.
So here's what I would say to her or him. That's great. Here's a tip. Focus how many people come on this airplane every day that do say, good morning, good evening, hello, and focus on those people, not the ones who don't. Because she or he's focused on all the ones who aren't. I get that. Okay, they're there. But how many are there that say hello? I said that to the flight attendant this morning. She was really sweet to me. And I made an extra point of saying, thank you for making my flight great. I knew that made her feel good. But, I know what I'm doing because I'm a professional. But plenty of times, I've got 3 million miles on Delta. I've flown a lot. And don't say, boo. And I used to never help people with their luggage in the overhead. I would always think, well, they should have packed it. They should have been able. And that, if she's needing help, I'd cop that little attitude about they shouldn't. And now the only thing that's changed is I look for opportunities to be helpful, and I feel better. Nothing has changed other than I'm a slightly better human being.
Yes, that is the key word. You look for ways to be helpful. That is something that I do not feel exists a lot. A lot of people aren't looking for that opportunity.
Girl, forget about them. You just do it. Don't worry about them. See, this is you.
But this is us trying to educate others, right?
Well,
we want to make sure they're looking for the opportunities.
I hope anyone who's listening is, well, I'm not one of those people. Great. Whoever's listening to this, which one are you? Are you one of the people that like, yeah, I don't really want to be that helpful to anybody? Or are you the person who goes, you know what? I'm going to be even more helpful than I already am, because we're one of the other. We're either one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And, as far as that question, like, how do we get other people to do this? Lord, if I know. If we can figure it out, let's bottle it. I think it's live it, talk about it, use our platforms to make it easier. Here's a way I think we could do it. Make it so that it's not that hard. Oh, that's interesting. And make it enjoyable. Oh, that's attractive for people to do this. So that the habit of being heliotropic, the habit of being uplifting and being the sun and not being the salt is easier and enjoyable and attractive and obvious. This is stuff from James Clear, Atomic Habits. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it enjoyable, make it easy for any habit. Let's make these heliotropic habits easy, attractive, enjoyable, and obvious.
I love that. I do think that's so beneficial. And thank you for sharing all of this. I want to leave you with something because I feel like you will very much love this compliment, and something I hope that you steal. One of my good friends, still one of my favorite compliments I've ever received to this day. She goes, "You are human sunshine." And that compliment will never leave my brain.
And what that means is you are such a powerful force of goodness that what that sunshine does, oh my God, it literally makes life on earth. Period. Without it, we don't exist. So all that energy from the sun goes into the plants and turns into fossil fuels and food. And why we're here is because of that. It's transmuted. Human sunshine, what a beautiful compliment. Awesomeness. Let's get more people as human sunshines, plural. Let's
agree.
create a movement. Let's start a thing. Anybody who wants to be a human sun, let's do something for them.
I agree. And I hope you take it, and that can be a compliment you have. It was one of my favorites. So Dr. Harry Cohen, thank you so much for being here with me and talking about this, and for writing your book, because small steps create big change, and that's what we're doing. So thank you.
My absolute pleasure.